everybody, and welcome to Fight Grind Radio. This is your boy Bootsy. Right now, I'm barely alive, Bootsy. I've had a very long weekend, a lot of fun, but a lot of work to be done, and then a lot of messing around at the UFC show. So the first thing we got to talk about today is the Tuff-N-Uff show that happened on Friday night. We got a guest in here. He's been on the show before, so you're our first repeat guest, I believe.
Oh, awesome, man.
Yeah, so we got Steve Mackowski here. Hey, what's up, Steve?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, Bootsy, how's it going, man?
I'm tired, and I would like to be asleep right now, but I'm awake.
There you go.
So, let's see if we can get everything started. Although, I'm not seeing any numbers showing up on the sound. I hope people are hearing us right now. So, Steve, why don't you tell us about your fight that you had this week? You were our opening bout.
That was the opening bout?
I put you up there on purpose because I said, Steve's going to do it. He's going to make a fun opening fight. And I think he did that, so tell us how the fight went.
The fight actually, it went okay. Wish, I could have performed a little bit better. But it was, definitely hard to adjust to the length of Andre,
Yeah, let's mention who you got there. You fought Andre Narcissus.
Narcissus or something like that. Yeah.
I'll never be able to say his last name. Andre, you know I love you. I hate your last name. But so you went 3 rounds with him. And he was a big fella.
Oh, he definitely was a big fella.
In the nicest way possible. I mean, of course, he's just a big guy.
Yeah, he's just a big guy. Yeah. Just the reach, was a big advantage for him. It was hard for me to adjust to. His height was, a little, he's probably, he's a couple inches taller than me, but it just overall was kind of tough to adjust to. He has some pretty long legs on him too, so.
Right, and you mentioned before your ribs are a little achy today.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely I think it was 30 or 40 seconds into the first round, right away in the get go, I caught a pretty nasty leg kick or direct shot too, no blocking, no nothing with it, went straight there. And,
right into the ribs.
Yeah, you could kind of tell it kind of definitely took the wind out of me. So I was trying to recover from that right away.
Right, but you came through. I saw you were pushing pace. Like I told you after the fight, I felt like you were backing away a little more than you should have.
Oh yeah,
but
definitely.
At the same time, it's not like you were running away the whole time. You were coming in there with some shots.
No, I was definitely coming in. Like I said, man, that leg kick definitely definitely caught me good, and you really can't train for that. There's no way not to train for that. You caught me.
You just got to get kicked in the leg a lot more.
Yeah,
get used to it. Yeah. We got to get you in a Muay Thai class.
There we go.
But so you lost this one to decision.
Yeah, I lost it by decision. Like I said, but I wound up catching him a couple good times too. I think he slowed down a lot when he seen that blood. I felt, from his nose.
Well, and you're also a guy for how big you are. You have a lot of cardio and bounce to you. Yeah. I don't know if a lot of guys that are your size, unless they've been doing this for a long time, most guys are going to get tired before you do. It seems.
Yeah.
Because you do a lot of running? You said I think the last time.
Yeah, I just do a lot of running. Actually, this fight I had to gain some weight, so that's the funny thing about it. So I kind of stepped back a little bit. But yeah, just running and just really adrenaline, man. When you get that adrenaline going, and I work off adrenaline, so that's where my strength comes from. And all that stuff. I'm just one of those guys. I might not be, big in the gym as far as lift 250 pounds, but when that adrenaline gets going, I lift 300 pounds.
Well, I know that the Tuff-N-Uff guys and Andre too are really appreciative. He still took the fight after because he couldn't make the weight because he was injured, and he was nice enough to mention that long before the fight happened.
Yeah.
So that was good. But he was definitely a bigger guy. I mean, he was a big dude.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would like to stay fighting.
Either.
He's got some muscle on him. Don't underestimate somebody just by looking at him. He's not. He wasn't solid like Shane or nothing, but he definitely was still a bigger guy. I definitely don't think I'll be stepping up to 205 too much more. There's just too much disadvantage against me.
Right.
So I'll probably stick right there at that 185.
And you said you talked to Shane Tinling after the fight. He was the guy you fought the first time out. How was it talking with him?
Oh man, Shane's actually awesome. I have nothing bad to say about that guy besides, I just can't wait to see him fight next. Come on, Shane, step it up. Let's see you go in there and do something, man. I know you got it.
He says he's going to be back for January 24th. I hope the coaches give him the nod.
Yeah, I think, what? He looked good. I think, he's looking good. I think he needs to go in there and handle what he got to handle.
Right. So on the other fights of the night, now I got to admit, everyone who saw me at the show or knows me knows I'm running around during the whole show. So I didn't get to watch every fight. Half the time I'm trying to just find a chance to drink some water or something because I'm doing pretty much a marathon while I'm running around at the show. But Sean Spangler, who is, I believe he's 44 now. Sorry, Sean, if you didn't want people to know, but I'm telling everybody. 44 years old, and he took on Tony Murphy, who actually wasn't slated to fight at all and came in on 0 days' notice. So he came in at the weigh-ins, and we needed someone to step up after an opponent didn't show up for Sean. And he stepped up with no days' notice and came in that fight against the guy who trains out of Drysdale's. And apparently he took it to him. Again, I didn't see the fight. I'm so sorry. I didn't watch the fight, guys. But I was busy running around. But I heard it was a hell of a fight, and I believe Sean won that one by submission. But Tony, apparently, from what I'm hearing, was a monster.
Oh, yeah, he definitely. He's a real big guy, man. Definitely. He was a little shorter than him, but he was definitely a monster of a guy.
For a guy that came in with no days training, I'm just glad he, put on a show. He was interested in putting on a show for us, and that was great, because some guys might, try to step up and then come out a little timid or try to test things out.
Oh, no, he was ready.
It didn't sound like he was testing anything out.
Oh, no, he was ready. He for sure was ready. And actually, I think he came with a girl that had
he was with Cheyenne Vlismas, another
and she
last
was
name.
looking good, too.
We'll get to her in a second, but I'm going to roll through these because I want to talk about her because she was fantastic. Sean Francis, who is on the same, he's been on both the cards here, and you guys are working together apparently, on the same cards together.
Tag team, there we go, Sean. Tag team.
Sean came in and he fought David Guerrero, who was also a later replacement at this amateur level. Unfortunately, you get a lot of these replacements.
He actually finished him quick too, but I knew he was going to come out and handle his business, just like last fight he came out and handled.
Right, and he took on David Guerrero, who's a wrestler who another guy. He's kind of like you, Steve, where he just said, "Hey, I want to fight, and I don't care who it is, or what weight class." He actually tried to cut to 135 and take on one of our 135 guys from 160 pounds.
Wow.
And he worked as hard as he could to cut that weight, but he just couldn't make it that far down. Luckily for him, Sean Francis's opponent backed out the day of the weigh-ins, and David had been preparing. He had been getting ready. So he came out as just a wrestler right now. He's not really an MMA guy yet. But, hey, stepped up, took the fight on short notice, and he's definitely going to be coming back to the show because, we got to take care of those guys that step up.
Back what you told me in October, Bootsy, he said half the battle is, getting in there and getting out there, and that's what he did. He got there, and you know what? He went out there, and that's half of it, right?
Most definitely. And honestly, he made it through that guillotine that Sean put on him, and I thought he was done with that guillotine, and he battled through it for it felt like forever.
It always feels like
and I'm
forever.
sure for him it felt like it just was never going to end, and he admitted it was tight, but he worked his way out of it, and unfortunately right after that, he's quickly becoming a veteran and knew to go right to that arm bar. And so Guerrero got caught in that. But, hey, like we said, you come in on short notice, and he wasn't timid. He wasn't shying away. He went for the takedowns. He worked hard, got out of a submission. Just wasn't his night. And you'd expect, 4 days' notice. I'm just so glad he got in there, especially in my position. He's saving my butt sometimes. Because, honestly, Sean Francis might have beaten me up if he didn't have an opponent because he needed to fight somebody. We also had Junior Gomez versus D'Angelo Yates. This is another one. I saw glimpses of it, but I had to be running around. But Junior is somebody, his record's deceiving. I think he's now 4-7. And I think he has some unsanctioned fights that, we don't get to put on his record. But he's already a veteran amateur, and he's looking like he's going to go pro.
Oh, that was actually a good fight. They both were going at it.
Right.
Very good, actually. They were both going at it. A little lighter guys, but they were definitely in there throwing some hands.
And Junior, I'm hoping for big things for Junior coming up in our I think he'll move down, actually, to the flyweight division. But either way, those guys that can do those long fights and they're fun the whole time, you want to keep those guys around. And I've heard, again, sorry guys for missing this one completely, but D'Angelo Yates is no joke. He held in there with him, and it was a good fight. I heard some people grumbling that he should have won, but, you hear that every fight.
Every fight.
Even if somebody gets submitted, they're like, he should have won. There was a BS call. Then we also had Ralph Pacheco, who fought Victor Mabin. I thought that was the fight of the night. Or at least in the contender run, those two were going at it back and forth the whole time. Pacheco was putting on submissions. Victor was getting out of him. Head kick here and there. Some hard leather throw.
Actually, a cool cartwheel kick one of them had, I think. Or tried.
Yeah, it's both of those guys really brought it. Victor is, I believe he's now 6-4, but he's a gamer. He just wants to fight. He enjoys doing it, and I like watching him fight. I got to hang out with him before the weigh-ins. And he's just a real nice, one of those, the kind of fighters you want to have around. He's humble, but he's hungry. He doesn't talk shit about anybody. He's not rude to anyone. He's just there to do his job. He's going to do it. Ralph came all the way from Arizona, actually paid his own way after his team couldn't make it out here. And he put on a hell of a show. I'm glad he stepped up because I know, doing the travel, it's already hard enough to get into a cage, but you got to travel here, you got to find your place to stay. We were able to put him in a...
Sure, it's a lot more pressure, a lot more things on your shoulders running through your head.
Yeah, unless you're one of those people that just loves to get away. If you hate your hometown, I guess it's a good idea. But, both of them put on a great show. I really enjoyed that fight. We also had Sebastian Buckley, who took on Fabio Hernandez out from California.
Yeah, he looked really good, actually. Sebastian Buckley looked really, really good, came out strong.
Yeah.
And
he's one of those couture guys. Those couture, they're cut from a different cloth. They get beat up a little bit when they're in there, so when they come out, they want to put a hurt on somebody. And certainly he wanted to put that hurt on Fabio. I think it was the first 5 seconds. He landed a good shot and tried to throw in some dirty boxing uppercuts. Fabio was able to get away. He almost went down, but he kept moving, which was good on him. And then Sebastian just kept that pressure, though, got that guillotine in. And unfortunately for Fabio, that was the end of the night.
That was it.
But, Buckley he's got a chance to be a real monster. If he can keep his training up, if he stays healthy, he's somebody that can do some good. And also, I like him because he sold so many tickets, of course.
Oh, really? Did he?
Yeah, he sold a lot of tickets for us. He's got a good...
Well, it's his hometown, I think. Las Vegas is his hometown.
It is, and he also runs a charity for children. The Next Generation Cares.
Yeah, and also you got that legalized violence too. I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty catchy. It's it's actually pretty tight.
Yeah, it's got the LV, perfect for being out in Las Vegas. And he knows what he's doing. He's a good marketing guy, so he helped. I like a guy who can. It's kind of the Sonnen thing. He markets himself well, but he can back it up too, and he's willing to fight whoever. Luckily, he isn't as annoying as Sonnen is. He's a humble guy. Or he's humble enough at least. He's not a braggart. But, he's just got the whole package right now. And, it's early. He's 1-0 right now. You can't get ahead of yourself, but he's a beast.
No, definitely. You'll go in there over time and get tested. Both my fights I got tested. And, now I realize, hey, it's time for me to get into camp. I'm not fighting at a camp. I'm coming straight off the streets.
Right.
Now it's that time. It's my time to get some skills. So.
And we got to talk about that, but we got to get through the rest of these. But we need to talk about the camps you've been checking out. I know you've only checked out a couple so far today, but we got some more to go to. We also had, I guess it would be called the fight of the night. It's the one everyone talks about, is the James Elmer versus Mike Florio. And if you haven't seen it on the internet yet, don't look at it if you're squeamish in any way.
No, definitely not.
An unfortunate situation where Elmer, it was a good fight up through the injury that happened, but then Elmer went for a takedown. He swept the legs out. Totally legal move. He wasn't doing any Cobra Kai from the Karate Kid or anything. But, he pulled Florio's legs out, and unfortunately Florio's foot got stuck under him, and pretty much his foot just left his body at that point.
Yeah, it was definitely a nasty sight, and, big shout out to Mike Florio.
Mm-hmm.
Real one tough dude, man.
Yeah, I saw pictures of him the next day. He's smiling. He's got a thumbs up. He says he's going to be all right, and he's going to come back. I truly hope he does.
I believe he's going to come back, and he's going to come back strong. I think it happened in the second round, though.
I believe it was the second round, right? And that's, this is one of those injuries that, I'm sure that people that don't like MMA will point to it as, look how brutal this is. But that was just one of those freak moments.
Of nature. Yeah.
That's like in football sometimes. No one's even hitting a guy, and he just twists his ankle on the ground, and his knee explodes,
Yeah.
That stuff will happen sometimes. And Florio, what really made me sad is that this was Florio's last amateur fight. So this was like his big, swan song fight.
Oh,
and then he gets hurt like that. But luckily, if you can find a silver lining in this, it was a pretty clean break. They had a successful surgery right away. And so they're saying he's going to be back, relatively quickly. Because those things can get so bad when you get caught underneath. You can lose a lot of ligament, and the bone can have, intensive dirty fractures. Yeah. Luckily, he had just had a nice clean break, as gruesome as it was. And if you see the pictures online, it's tough to look at, but
that's the fight of this sport. That's what happens. It can happen, so just be prepared for a situation like that.
And props to our EMT team that was out there that took care of him.
Rushed right in there, was holding his leg. Actually, that looked more painful than anything.
Yeah.
They were pulling his leg out to keep it straight. And,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a couple people in the audience that needed oxygen after that one that were up close to it. It's a hard thing to see, and it's the reality of the sport. Sometimes that stuff's going to happen. It's not always just getting, punched in the face. Sometimes parts of your body just come off sometimes. It's just going to happen. So with that fight, it was a little hard to watch. We also had Batara versus Vlismas, who Cheyenne Vlismas came from out of Florida, which is where you're from. Correct?
Yeah, I'm actually from Florida. Yep.
And
she actually came about 2 hours from where I'm from.
Oh, okay. So close enough. We'll just say same spot then. I don't want to have to generalize too much. But she came out, and she had a great fight. She came out on the losing end of it, but she got some tough submissions. She looked good with her hands. I think she was a little drained from the weight cut, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, I seen that. The last minute she had to cut, I think like 6 pounds or something like that.
She cut a lot of weight, and we took her.
She was already cutting weight before that. So.
Right, and we had told her. I had actually told her to stop cutting because I felt like it was getting a little too dangerous. And she had her family there and her coaches there that were also like, "Look, if you want to do it, you can, but you don't have to." And she's a gamer. She tried to cut all that weight. I think she was 0.02 or maybe 1.2 pounds off. So it's
we're talking about points here, so at least she wasn't 2-3 pounds.
Right, yeah, she tried her hardest, and I helped her out. I got her into Couture's to get into the sauna because they didn't have a very good one at the hotel, and she was worried. I mean, she actually called me and she was worried she wasn't going to make weight.
Well, there's one person we can count on, Bootsy. It's you for the fighters, man. You're definitely there for us.
I do. I try to help. I try to do what I can. I went out and saw David Guerrero. I was worried about him cutting so much weight on such short notice, but I figure you guys are putting in all that effort. You're getting in a cage. You're fighting people where you can get hurt, like what happened with Florio, and that's a rare injury. It's concussions and things like that aren't as rare here. Sure. So I figure if you guys are doing all that work, we got to do what we can to get you guys to the right weight, do it safely, which is hard to do, especially on short notice. But Cheyenne did a great job in the fight. I thought she looked real good. I hope we can get her back out here if she wants to do it. To get her back out for some more fights, because man, she was able to, those submissions. Anyone who can put on subs and put the hurt on someone, of course you want that in a fight because that's your job. But I always have a special spot in my heart for people that can get out of those tough situations, who don't give up when they could.
That's right.
And she definitely did that. She almost had a standing armbar too.
Yeah, she actually did, which was actually looked really good. But
I was over the moon on that just because I love slick submissions, and if that came out of nowhere and she got that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But we can't all be Vinny Margulies, so we can't always get those things. But and then we had our co-main event, our main event, which were all of these. The last 3 fights were women's fights, and what I liked, the women brought it again.
The women did bring it. Actually, that was my first time ever seeing women fight. Mm-hmm. The women brought it. I was actually surprised as far as how much anger and how much
they bring it every time. They have the aggression. That's what I love, is that people always people that haven't seen women fight, they're always like, oh well, is this going to be just them rolling around? But no, they go
straight hands
after it.
And they were going after it for sure.
And Jessica Zomchik beat Shannon Reed, who Shannon's my girl. I've had her on the show, but it wasn't her night. She got caught with some good shots.
She was a little longer, She was just tagging them, Like I said, that reach, especially if you're not going to the ground,
Right.
It's tough to try to figure out and time some.
And I believe Shannon also separated her shoulder in that fight. I'm not sure when she did it,
did
but
she really?
She had her shoulder bandaged up too. And that's more that what's weird is that both of the people that got hurt were correctional officers. So I don't know what they're doing down there at those prisons, but ease up out there because everyone's getting hurt. Their bodies are tattered. But Shannon will be back. She was very disappointed, like most people were when they lost. You're going to have disappointment, especially the night of, because you've been visualizing a win. You've just been visualizing how you're going to do what you want to do. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And for Shannon, it didn't work out. But you know what? She's a gamer. She was tough.
Yeah, she was definitely tough.
She was getting hit in the face, and she didn't slow down. She was going after it. So, it is what it is.
I think a little bit of blood was coming out, too. So.
Oh, yeah, there was some blood there.
Like I said, most time, she didn't slow down, though. When she seen that blood, it just seemed to me like she fired up a little bit more.
I think Shannon kind of feeds off of that a little bit.
She fired up a little bit more.
But, of course, props to Jessica for doing her thing, getting her job done.
For sure.
And that's, I believe, her second time out here and her second win. I'm hoping we can get her to fight the person who won our main event, which was Marina Shafir. I know Shafir wants to go pro soon, but I would love to see Zomchik fight Shafir.
You know what? That'd be a good main event if we could get that going. I'd love to see that one.
If I can use my Bootsy black magic, I will somehow make it work. But it's when someone is as big of a prospect as she is, it's hard to keep them an amateur for good reason. I don't think she owes it to anyone to stay down an amateur. But I would love to see her take on the talent of Zomchik just to see where both of them are really at.
To test the waters on both of them.
Yeah, because you got 2 people that won the same weight class. Let's see what happens if we put them together.
Let's clash them together, yeah.
Yeah, and Marina beat Tabitha Patterson, who also came in from out of town, and she was excited about her fight, and I was hoping she'd be able to put on a good 3-round war, but unfortunately she got caught in that arm triangle.
Yeah.
And when you're against someone that works with Ronda Rousey, if you get stuck in a submission, you better find a way out of that shit fast. But before she did get submitted, she laid some hands on Shafir. And you could tell Shafir felt it because she went for the clinch quick.
Right away.
As soon as she got hit, she was looking for that clinch.
Yeah, she did.
So, but it was great to see all those fighters out there. Obviously, because all the work I do trying to get those fights going, I was just happy that the fights happened. But it was a bonus that everyone really went out there and gave it their all, even the people on short notice, even someone like you had to come in, you were supposed to be at a lower weight, came in at a higher weight. So big props to everybody that came out to compete. And, of course, thanks to everyone who came out to celebrate the memory of Barry Meyer.
Yes.
There was a great little memorial that they had
actually,
at the intermission.
that memorial really touched my heart. That was an awesome memorial. I think they set that up perfect, showing the pictures from, back then until now.
Right.
And it meant a lot more than, just something simple. They actually went over and beyond, and that was great,
Yeah,
it really was.
I love seeing those pictures of Barry because you could tell how much he liked fighting. Every picture is him flexing or kicking high.
Yeah, I like the one at the beach. I like the beach picture when he was at the beach doing the kick.
Yeah,
that was cool.
It's so unfortunate that we're not going to have him around much longer. But we got Jeff, his brother, who's holding down the fort and doing a hell of a job.
And I think he's going to take it. I actually shared one of his posts. He said he wants to make Tuff-N-Uff bigger than ever. And you know what, Jeff? Come on, let's go ahead and make it. You got good people behind you. And
and I know he felt a lot of pressure on the show because this was the first one without his brother and business partner. But you know what? He knows what he's doing. And it's hard right now. I'm proud of him just for showing up because it would be easy to just be sad and stay at home and let other people deal with it. But he felt that it was something that he needed to do, and he did a great job. And, of course, Jason Lilly, who's been helping him out and taking over the head position, has been working hard. Rona from Tuff-N-Uff has also been doing her job, getting everybody hyped.
She's been doing good, too, getting everybody hyped and making, little post kind of cards. She made me one.
Right.
So it was pretty cool, yeah.
So it was a good show all around, and so thanks to everyone for doing that. So let's get to you talking about the seeing the camps. Now, you said you haven't had a camp up till now?
No, I haven't had a camp. Yeah, I still don't have a camp.
Right.
But I went and checked out a couple of them today. Went to Randy Couture's. I didn't really get to see too much there. I guess I went there at an earlier time. There wasn't too many people in there yet.
But it's a hell of a facility.
Oh, it's a hell of a facility by far. They got their own sauna up top and all that kind of stuff. Everything's new, top notch there. Got their own massage. Therapy kind of thing going on in there.
Plus, you get to see pros every time you're there. There's always a UFC guy there somewhere.
There's always going to be someone in there. You get a little motivation as you walk in.
Plus, how do you as someone, I know that when I first got there, I just love seeing all the bags. Where it's just I could get, if I need to go work out, I'd have my own bag. I don't have to wait for someone to get off of it.
Well, actually,
there's plenty of room.
There's plenty of room, there's plenty of room. Actually, I went to Syndicate, too. Syndicate was way bigger, more room-wise.
Right.
Syndicate looked like an awesome gym, actually. I can tell why those guys produce so many good people out of Syndicate.
When you got to see them when they're bringing in all their pros and amateurs training, too, right? How'd you like that?
That was pretty cool. I learned a little something today just by watching. So a little takedown move, So
do you feel like... Just by watching it, do you see where you can start improving already?
Oh, 100%. Even before I watched it, I know I can improve. But going there today and seeing it, wow, that's a move I could learn how to do, and I could do that move easily, So it's definitely. I know once I get in the gym, I'll feel way more confident than I already feel confident. And it's just about putting things together, and I'll put it all together, and I'll look real sharp. So
I'd say you wouldn't have to worry about confidence at all. I've seen you with your confidence. What we got to work on is that tomahawk punch that you like to throw. You throw it. It's like you're Brett Favre out there trying to knock people out with a football.
Yeah,
where's that? Is that just a street fight move that you have?
That's just I guess it's just an awkward punch, but don't get it twisted. I mean, when it connects, it hurts.
Well, I tell you, both people that have been hit by it said that hurts. I don't care what it looks like.
Yeah.
That didn't feel good when it hit me.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, maybe that can just be your patented move.
That's what it is, I think. I think I always keep that one on the list,
Yeah,
but I definitely need to improve with some better, obviously learn combinations and. Like I said, if I would have been training in a camp for a guy that tall, I would have had a lot more to bring to the table than just, coming in there like I did.
Because like you said, it was getting used to that length. And then if you're at a place like Couture or Syndicate or where we'll go later, Drysdale's or Torres, you'll find people that are that height that you can work with. So
yeah, for sure.
Hopefully the next time if you do have to fight someone that's tall, although if you're going to drop down to a lower weight class, maybe you won't have to worry about it so much. But still, it's always better that when you're at a gym, you know that whoever you're facing, you can find someone at the gym who kind of has the same dimensions and the same skill sets. And so you can work with that as opposed to just training hard on your own and hoping that what you got works.
Yeah, that's exactly right. it's like I'm going in there sparring lessons and, on the fight night, So really, it's not too much benefit towards me.
Yeah, we should have had we should do extra rounds for people that don't have training camps where you get one round of feel out. You're not allowed to throw hard, just feel out, finding the distance. I'm sure both competitors would love that.
Oh.
But so who are you most impressed by at the show, at the Tuff-N-Uff show?
You know what? I'm gonna have to go with Sean.
Yeah, Sean Francis.
Sean Francis, just because every time he brings it, so he brought it this time too. I'm really impressed by him. That's really who I really was impressed by at the camp. As far as the girls, the one girl from Florida, man, she was bringing it. I really liked her. I kind of favored her.
Is that just because she's from Florida, though?
No, that's not at all. But you know what? She didn't have nobody there on top of, being from Florida. And, I know how it is to get booed and stuff like that and not have nobody in your corner, being in Las Vegas.
Right.
And,
she
looked sharp.
You got booed when you came out. Did that bother you at all?
I got booed. Did it bother me? A little bit it did, but then I just let it go out of me because, it's my second time fighting. I find it funny that people that, want to boo you. Obviously, it's their town. I'm not from their town, but... I find it funny, if it's so much boo, go ahead and get in the cage too yourself. We'll see how fun or how easy things look from the outside looking in.
Yeah, I think you're against a Cobra Kai guy. They got passionate fans.
Well, one thing I can say about Tuff-N-Uff, they're the best around. And let me tell you something. If y'all think you're tough enough, go ahead and call Tuff-N-Uff, and we probably can get you in there.
Yeah, call Bootsy.
There you go. And we'll see if you can fit the test.
Although I might not let you in. There's some people I get worried about some people. See, I let you in because I know you're tough enough. You've shown it twice now. You got a skill. You may have a silly overhand throw, but I haven't seen you even get close to being finished yet.
Yeah.
So, and it's not. You're also, for someone who doesn't have a training camp, you get away from punches pretty well. You got tagged sometimes, but that's going to happen in any fight in a tiny cage like we have.
Actually, yeah, it was. And you know what? I thought the cage was definitely going to be bigger, and then being in there with that big, long guy like that,
right?
The cage seemed like it was cut off real short.
Yeah.
And I definitely was bobbing and weaving some punches for sure. And I definitely took some good shots. I landed some nice, solid, shots that didn't slip off at all. But I kept my composure. I definitely wasn't rocked too good. So I just was trying to swivel out of the time I did get rocked.
Well, it seemed like the couple of times when you got hit, you were also just kind of off balance. Where I know it cracked you, but you didn't exactly have the best footwork in there. So I think you were a little off balance.
Yeah, that's correct too.
That happened with him too. I think when you cracked him and he was off balance.
It was the third round. It was at the end. I wound up. I think I caught him with a left hook. He was coming in. I went to set up, and I guess he seen and tried to come back.
Right.
And I wound up clipping him with it, and then he fell down.
Right.
But I kind of just looked at him and told him with my mouth, silently, I told him, I said, get up, because my body was just shut. After that rib shot, I'm telling you, man, I felt that one, man. I still feel it right now, actually.
Yeah, it's people that have never been hit by a body shot always think it's weird when people don't like going for the kill after getting hit in the body. But man, if you felt a body shot, you know exactly why you don't go charging in afterwards.
Yeah, but I kind of just, looked at him, said, get up. It was only 10 seconds left for the fight anyway, and but other than that, man, everything went smooth and good. And
right, and so you're talking about taking a little time off while you do your next training camp. When do you think? Get just a roundabout. When do you think?
Rough. You know what? I wanted to get at least 3 solid months of training in. I want to be, I want to learn some skill like these boys, and I felt like if I can hang in there now for the 3 rounds I hung in there both times against skilled dudes from top name gyms, then what happens if I get in the gym like them and I train for 3 to 6 hard months? Let's see how good I get.
Yeah, but you already got the heart and the cardio, so now all you got to do is fit in those moves. And, just stop throwing a football. I want to see you actually light a guy up a little bit and then throw that as your finishing punch, right there.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that for you, Bootsy. That's like I told you, that's my punch. That's my signature.
Yeah, and we got Matt in here now. Matt, how you doing?
It's great to be here.
We just finished up talking about the Tuff-N-Uff card. So talk about
You were right.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, it was good. But and you were able to get in finally. I saw you out there beforehand. Sorry I couldn't help you out there, but you saw me running around. I was in a million different places at once.
You got a lot of responsibilities.
I do, and it's fun. But man, would I like a nap? It would be great. But so, who'd you like in those fights?
I just thought they were great fights. I mean, you go to these amateur venues. It's really not an amateur show.
Right.
Just watching it, you could easily be a professional show in a lot of other cities. So just a great card. I really enjoyed watching it.
Mm-hmm. You like the final 3 fights, the women's fights?
They were great. I mean, I thought all the fights were great. Very talented. I just like to see how people perform on the big stage.
Right. And did you check out the TUF Finale?
Yes, I did.
Because most people I've talked to did not check out the TUF Finale or watched it later or whatever. I was actually able to go thanks to Rudy, who's sitting behind me here nice and quietly. But I was able to be at that show, which was a lot of fun. But I realized while at that show, it's a lot harder to pay attention to the fights, like what's actually going on in the fights. I can't dissect them like I can when I'm sitting at home. Because at home I'm taking notes, like I'm watching, I'm dissecting all the moves and stuff. when I'm at the show, I'm too busy yelling. People are yelling behind me. I can't pay attention as well. So what did you think of the show overall?
I thought it was great. I saw it on TV. I think when you're watching it live, it's more you're watching it as a fan.
Right.
And just enjoying it. I'm really impressed with Nate Diaz.
Oh, my goodness. That guy, he's so good, and people don't because of his personality, people kind of write him off and like to just say he's a thug. But goodness, he's a beast. He came out angry. He was pacing the whole time before the fight, and then he controls it all the way through the fight and puts it on Maynard like that. That was a ridiculous finish.
It really was, and you can't forget who was he fighting. He's
Right.
fighting Greg Maynard, who was a top lightweight, almost
Right.
won the title. A Division I All-American, Nate Diaz, took him down, threw him on his back,
Right.
and then knocked him out on his feet.
Right. That was a beautiful judo throw he did. I can't remember the
Amazing.
technical title of it, but that was a ridiculous throw. Even though he ended up on the bottom again, it got him to the point where he could stand back up and do what he wanted to do. It was a hell of a move. And a lot of people, I've seen people giving Gray Maynard crap and saying he's not good anymore. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's just that Nate is that good.
Absolutely. Anybody who's seen Greg Maynard train, he still has it.
Yep.
He had a great game plan. Took Nate Diaz down initially.
Yeah, I thought he played smarter than I assumed he was going to kind of want to fight Nate's game, and he didn't. He wanted to impose his own game. It didn't work out for him, but I was surprised he was willing to impose his own game, because we saw in their second fight he decided to stand and bang with Nate because he gets angry and he wants to just fight you all of a sudden.
He gets in the head.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was a heck of a finish. What'd you think of the two finales?
I thought they were great.
Yeah.
Once again, I thought they were really good fights. Just really enjoyed both of them.
Pena was a monster in there. She was scary.
She's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah. And she was another person. She came out angry and then controlled it well. She didn't come out crazy.
Right.
But she came in looking fierce.
Looking fierce, very, very explosive,
Yes.
and didn't gas out. She threw
Right.
a lot of punches when she was
She
had
did.
her mounted and was ground and pounding.
Yeah, I saw some people that were complaining about that finish, and I was like, that girl's getting beat up on the bottom. That looked painful.
There was 1 second left, but to be honest, I don't think it would have mattered either way.
And I don't think
she was
that the
gonna
ref
dominate.
is really paying attention to how much time is left.
Right.
He's just watching if you're defending yourself.
He has to protect the fighters, and some of those punches were getting blocked, but a lot of them were getting through. You could see by her face at the end of the fight. And the referees do have to caution on the safety of the fighters.
Yeah, and if there was a timer in front of his face and he had seen there was 1 second, he might have even let it go. But he's not paying attention. I mean, his whole focus is on taking care of them and making sure. And also, I gotta say, that wasn't intelligently defending yourself, what she was doing. She was stuck. That was pretty much checkmate.
Right.
And honestly, if it hadn't happened in the last 30 seconds, we wouldn't even be talking about whether or not it was a good enough stoppage, because she was just getting beat up, and it would have kept happening.
I have a feeling it would have kept happening.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we had Roxanne Modafferi who lost the decision. It was a good fight. I made the mistake, just like she did, of looking online at what people were saying about her. Mm-hmm. And I have, on it personally, I mean, I'm friends with her, of course, but just as a fight fan, I've been pretty disgusted by how people are writing her off and disrespecting, who she is and what she can do. Because I feel like people, and this is nothing new, but maybe it's just driving me a little nuts since I know her and I've seen her train. People don't understand, what she's meant to women's MMA and how long she's been around. She's been fighting since 2003. She was starting to fight around the same time that Fedor became the Pride champion. That's when she started. And that's the same year Kenny Florian started fighting. She started fighting. And Kenny's sitting in a booth right now talking about the fights. I think Diego Sanchez started around the same time she did. These are people that nowadays people be like, that guy's been around forever. I still think of them as the new guys because I've been watching this too long. But it drives me nuts when people don't understand Roxanne, her skill and what she brings to the sport and what she's meant to women's MMA. Places like Invicta and this women's division wouldn't be around if it wasn't for people like Roxanne, who was beating people like Jennifer Howe, Tara LaRosa, Marlos Conan, who are people that are still relevant at this point. And instead what we keep hearing is just, I guess we see it in all sports, what have you done for me lately mentality.
Right. And you have to look who's writing all those things.
That's true. These are usually not people that have been involved in the sport or taking the time to really appreciate the history of it.
I agree.
At the same time, there's people like Jennifer Howe. You know who she's lost to in her career?
Who?
Roxanne Modafferi. You know who else she's lost to? Roxanne Modafferi. You know who else she lost to? Nobody. No one else could beat her. It was only Roxanne, and she was 12-0, I believe, when Roxanne first fought her. no one could beat Jennifer Howe.
You know, it
Roxanne
also
came
goes
in and
back
took
to
her out.
this. You know, it's always from the outside looking in. It's always people from the outside talking, you know, about how easy something is, or you should have done this, should have done that. Well, guess what? It goes back to what I told you. If you think you're tough enough, go ahead and come on.
Go do it. And it's, I mean, Roxanne's never been a person who's been a boxer. You know, and people like to give her crap about boxing. But, you know, there's a lot of guys out there that don't throw normal punches and girls that don't throw just the standard punches. She may not look, you know, crisp when she's doing her boxing, but it's been working for a long time, and she does it the right way. Her head movement looked great. I thought she looked good when she was fighting. She got tagged a couple times, but her head movement I thought was better than ever before. She was throwing more combos than I've seen her throw, and it's just unfortunate to me. That's when I see people doing that. I've always been annoyed by people who like to, you know, just say what a fighter should do.
Absolutely, and as a fighter's perspective, those are the people watching on the sidelines and won't get in there.
That's right.
Right. I'm going to be mad about it for at least another week. I mean, because first of all, there's the fighter respecting. Secondly, Roxanne's like one of the nicest people. So at least give her a little bit of, just calm down with your rudeness. Because she hasn't had a mean thing to say about anyone her entire life. And she does this sport before there was money in it at all, let alone what little there is now.
No, I agree with you, Bootsy, and I think a lot of people don't take the time to really know about the fighters, where they come from, what they've done, and their whole situation, and they just so quick to, you know, pass judgment and say negative things.
Well, I think that it was, if I gave them the list of people Roxanne fought, they would have no idea who those people were. I mean, you had Tara La Rosa, who was 18-2 when Roxanne beat her, and you had Marlos Kunin, who was 13-1. When
and those are
Roxanne
tough
beat her,
opponents.
and Roxanne beat her in her third fight of the night, beat Kunin. I mean, so that's ridiculous. Then Vanessa Prado was 7-2. Vanessa's still around fighting in Invicta and other organizations, still kicking ass. So it just drives me nuts. I know people like to look at records and all that stuff. Roxanne hasn't had the best run lately, but also her losses, out of the 11 losses she has, 7 are decisions. 2 are being slammed on the back of her head.
So that's telling you that she's able to go all rounds.
She goes, and she puts it on the line every time, and she works hard. And it's just, I guess it's just unfortunate. Of course, it just pisses me off. And I am on the outside, but I'm also around the fighters a lot, you know. So maybe I'm just a little more sensitive, because fighters usually let it go. They're like, whatever, those people don't know what they're talking about. Me, as somebody who's around the fighters, I'm always trying to champion them. So it gets a little tough for me. So I become like a parent almost. I want to go talk to someone and be like, these people should be in trouble. How dare they? How dare they do what they do?
Well, hopefully she can bounce back and really create a good story, just as many other fighters have in the past.
I hope so. I hope they give her another shot. I think that she honestly deserves it, if for nothing else, for how long she's been doing this and how successful she has been in the past.
Right.
That, you know,
she set the tone for a lot of, you know, women, especially, you know, being that she fought way back then and then look now. So.
Right. And not only that, but the way that she conducts herself, I think, is something that the sport needs more. It's good to have heels. It's good to have Nate and Nick Diaz flipping people off and yelling, because that's fun. It's someone to root against. Or if you like the bad boys, you want that. You got people like Ronda, who's, you know, tough to like, but it's a fun heel to have. Sonnen's made an entire career out of just being an obnoxious person, but then backing it up. It's good to have someone like Roxanne who's just a good person who fights well and always has something nice to say about everybody else. It would be nice to have a little more of that, because I know this sport could easily just become, you know, WWE type people coming in all the time.
Absolutely. And we talked about, you know, what fighters do outside the ring. As a fighter's perspective, how much do you put weight on what they do outside the ring or how they carry themselves?
As far as judging them?
Not judging them, or just on a marketing standpoint.
You know, I got a great attitude myself, so I don't think there's no reason to be a tough guy image. You know, obviously everybody knows you're tough. You're getting in a cage,
right?
For Christ's sakes, you know, you know, you're locked inside. There's no way out. There's only, you know, 3 ways out. That's either winning, you know, winning, or that's, you know, going all 3 rounds, or it's getting knocked out. You know, so it's like, you know, you're tough regardless. You get in there, it's nothing. It's nothing easy.
Yeah, but you already kind of have your own little persona where you came in with the street fighting thing and just wanted to fight. That's its own story in itself, so you don't really need a persona.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder about those people that are just kind of boring. Like, they just get in there, they work out, they do their thing, they work hard, and then people don't really give them enough credit because they don't have a personality or a story behind it.
And that's kind of like where I think I'm at too. A lot of people probably don't give me. They see me, fight, and they probably don't give me a lot of credit. Like, oh, look at him.
Right.
They might think I don't deserve to be there because I'm not putting. I haven't trained in the gym for 6 months to a year. But me, let alone going in there and being able to survive with dudes that trained 5 days a week in the gym and not being knocked out or not being submitted. I mean, that speaks a lot. Now, you know what? It's time for training.
Well, I tell you, that's why the gyms are cool with having you in there, because they know you've already done it. You're not coming in saying, I want to fight and I'm tough, blah, blah. It's that you've already been fighting and now you want to improve, and they can respect that.
And you know what? The gyms have been very nice, and as far as open arms, like, hey, if you really want to come here, you got to put in that work. They're not just going to throw me in there because I say I want to get in there.
Yeah, well, that's the hard part is going to be, are they going to let you in when you want to fight? You're going to have to beg and plead, I guess. Although I think at Couture's, well, even there, they'll tell you if they don't think you should, but I think they'll still let you do it. Syndicate, I think they'd much more be like, don't, no, shh, not yet. But we'll see. And you got some other camps to go to, but you're going to pretty much be the belle of the ball everywhere because they know you've already put in the hardest part, which is where you actually step up and fight.
Right.
And, well, I shouldn't say the hardest part, because training every day is hard.
Yes.
Whether you fight or not, getting in there and putting in the dedication is hard. But maybe the most daunting part, where you actually get in there, and especially with the Tuff-N-Uff thing, where it's not like a little dinky show. You're in front of a lot of people.
A lot of people. And you know what? It's just so professional, the way they make you feel after the fight, before the fight. The weigh-ins, just everything in general, they just make you feel really good.
How'd you feel about the second time dealing with the anxiety or with seeing the crowd? Did it feel different this time?
Well, actually, it felt way different. We were in the ballroom this time. To be honest with you, I love the energy of the ballroom.
Yeah?
I think, it was cool. The energy, it was loud. You heard more of the crowd this time than last time because it was so much bigger last time.
Right.
The lights were, cool there. The intro, the way you walk in was way better to me. I really like the ballroom. I look forward to fighting in the ballroom again. And, this time...
I believe we're back there in January. I believe that's where we're going to be again. Although I'm sure that the bigwigs at Tuff-N-Uff would like it if we could fit more seats in there. But you legally can't fit in any more than what we have already. But, I get what you're saying, though, about being able to hear that crowd. It's more intimate. It's still a huge place, the ballroom.
Yeah, it was.
But when you fit that many people in there, all of a sudden it feels like a real small area.
Yeah.
And you got to deal with that noise coming at you. Were you able to feed off the crowd at all, even though you were the away team essentially?
Yeah, I was the away team, but you know what? I did feed off the crowd a lot.
Yeah.
Because of the fact of, when I caught that rib kick, you hear, ooh, and just everything. I was hurt after the first round. The first 40 seconds, I was hurt.
Right.
So, when I caught a good shot in on him, they were like, oh, too. So it was the kind of excitement of the back and forth thing.
Right.
Like, he caught me, everybody's like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I caught him, everybody's like, oh. It's like, it kind of pumped me up, motivated, like, hey, I'm still in this. Just because I'm, hurt a little bit doesn't mean I'm not in it, Because one punch can change the game.
Absolutely.
It's the beauty of the sport, although it scares the crap out of me as the guy that has to know all of you, because I got to talk to both the winners and the losers each time. And that can be heartbreaking sometimes.
It's a little heartbreaking. I go in there, again this time. I got, I'm 0-2 right now.
Right.
But it's still my amateur career, like I said. And, now it's time for me, like I said, to get in this gym. And now let me put a win under my belt. It's time for me to start winning.
Well, and like what we talked about, you've done so many things. The one thing you don't have is the W. Everything else you've been getting done on your own. So it's not, you don't have the leap some people have where they've never fought before, maybe not even a street fight or getting in a tussle, at a bar or something. So you already have so many things in your pocket, I guess you could say, that you're able to take from out of this, that all you need to do now is put together those combos. The cardio alone, half the people I see that are struggling, we saw it when we're rolling, or when people were rolling, people were dealing with cardio problems.
And that was not even the excitement of the fight. That was
exactly.
Just at practice.
So the fact that you have that part already is a huge leap. If we can just get that hand to stay straight when you punch, that's going to be a big thing. Although it's hard because I love the unorthodox punches and moves and things. So I kind of want you to keep it, but at the same time, I do want you to get the W. I think it comes faster when you have that straight down the pike punch.
It was definitely there. That's the thing. My corner was yelling at me, and my corner came in. I'm like, sorry, I know it's there. But like I said, it's different. When you're out there and you're, it's there. Well, you go in there with a guy 6'3", 6'4", 220 pounds, 215 pounds. You go in there and just go ahead and lay that straight right on out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he was looking for that. I can't remember which way he stood, but he was looking for the far hand hook when you came in. And I think because you threw that overhand, he couldn't get the hook in right because he couldn't figure out where that punch was coming from. So I think it actually kind of helped you out in that fight. But so I want to move back real quick, Matt, because I got to ask you, where do you think Nate Diaz is going to go next? Because you know that lightweight division is pretty weird right now in the UFC.
You know, he also can go up to 170. With that performance, he has to do something well. I don't know. You know, that's a tough job for a matchmaker.
Oh, I'm glad I don't have to do that. I met Joe Silva after the fights, and I got to shake his hand and talk to him for a little bit. And that's like me meeting Vanderlei Silva for you, Steve. Where I'm meeting the guy who like does the thing I would love to be doing. I don't want to take your job, Joe. Like you listen to this. I don't want to take his job because he does a phenomenal job. But I would love to like study under that guy and figure out how he does it. Because the amount. Just dealing with amateurs is hard enough. He has to deal with contracts and managers all the time.
Well, see, I don't know the guy, so I don't know if he's like you. But see, at least you study the fighters. At least you go there to the camps. You're riding around here every day, putting that dedication in to be the guy to set up the matches. You know, most people, they just sitting on the sideline like, oh, I want this guy to fight that guy and have no idea. You know, you're out there actually looking at gyms like, okay, I see this guy's skill. Well, you know what? I think this guy over here will fit this guy's skill.
Well, I think it's a little easier for me because a lot of them are in Vegas. Joe Silva has them all over the world, so that becomes a little difficult.
There's a lot of behind the scenes there that we never know what goes on.
Yeah, and that's why I'd love to talk, because that's a guy who's been doing it for a long time, where at this point, I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of work for him, but now it's almost second nature for him.
Right. Well, you heard it from Bootsy himself. Come on, Joe. Come on in here to Fight Grind Radio. Go ahead and let him.
Yeah, let's get Joe in here. Let's see if I can pull those strings. Those are some hefty strings to pull, but I'll try it. I'd love to talk to that guy.
I'm pretty sure Tuff-N-Uff can pull it out.
We're
the best around.
We'll do that a 3-hour show, because I will have so many. I'll be like a little kid talking to his hero. Like that would be so much fun to talk to him. But yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with Nate either. It's the hard part with like where we are with Tuff-N-Uff. If there's people that leave to go pro and do stuff, and we just move the belt down and have another fight. In the UFC, there's so much politicking involved, and we have Pettis who's injured right now, who's going to be out, and then we have a couple of top guys at lightweight that want the belt. We got who is it? Ferguson? Is that? I can't remember his name. Oh God, nightmare for someone who's
Gilbert
doing a podcast.
Melendez, right?
Melendez, but he's Nate's teammate.
They definitely won't fight each other. But the good thing about someone like a Nate Diaz, whether you like him or hate him, he's great for the UFC.
Oh, absolutely,
and
he's so much fun.
He's so much fun. He fights awesome. He doesn't complain.
Right.
He's bringing it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing about it.
And we should say that's a big fight for him after he got TKO'd by
He stepped up. He stepped up. He took on once again, we cannot disregard Gray Maynard.
Yeah. Which a lot of people want to do, and that's silly.
He's at the top of the top.
Yeah, and I think I wouldn't say Nate made it look easy, but boy, did he impose his game after the initial takedown.
Maynard has a tremendous chin on him too.
Yeah, that's what people have been talking about, that his chin's gone, and I think they just don't understand what getting punched is like.
Well, I think Nate showed that he could punch. He wasn't just going to patter those punches. He cracked them, and he hit them hard.
And he always does bring it, though. Nate always does bring it, too. So it's not like, he's not a half-ass opponent.
Right, and I heard rumblings. I don't know if they were true. I haven't vetted the information, but that he was working with Team Alpha Male's Dwayne Ludwig. Which is why those punches might have been coming in so hard all of a sudden. Because usually, like you said, it's kind of the pitter-patter.
Right.
Where he sets it up and then does a hard body shot and then back to the pitter-patter. And this time, he was still tagging maybe at like 70%. But there were more of those knockout kind of punches.
Right.
And for anybody that thinks Gray doesn't have a chin, he only fell down after the fight was over. Which was an interesting little zombie moment he had.
Yeah, because he was actually hanging in there, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't try to take him down or come back. I think he was rocked. But what's next for Maynard? Ooh. What do you guys think?
I don't know about that one. If the UFC keeps him, then he's got to do kind of a gatekeeper fight. Someone who's good but is coming up, isn't established yet.
Right.
Which is a scary fight for Gray, because that means everything's on the line for him.
I agree.
If the UFC doesn't keep him, he could be a commodity for sure for like the WSOF.
I think anybody.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd want to go to Bellator, because they like to do that tournament system thing, and that's all, some guys like it, some guys don't. It seems like Maynard wouldn't like that so much, but WSOF is out there, and they could definitely use him. Because, like you said, he's still... We can't disregard that guy. He's good.
I can't see the UFC dropping him, but you never know with the roster the way it is now. Anything can happen.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't know. I would imagine they wouldn't get rid of him, but at the same time, they got rid of Okami. they got rid of Fitch. Like, sometimes when you lose a couple, and because Gray probably has a pretty high price tag. So if they don't feel like he can keep doing it, or if they're worried he just doesn't have any more, they could get rid of him because it's the UFC. They can always ask for him back.
Yeah.
They can bring him back.
One thing about it in the fight game, there's always someone that'll step up and want to fight. So.
Absolutely, and the lightweight division is stacked in the UFC, so that could be a real problem for Gray. But I hope they keep him. He's never really been my favorite guy, but I never dog on any fighter unless they're just terrible and shouldn't be fighting in the first place, and I almost never make that judgment. So, I mean, if you're in the UFC, chances are you're all right at fighting.
Yeah.
Unless you're what's his name, the boxer they brought in.
James Toney.
I want to call him Tony something. But yeah, James Toney. That was the one freak show fight the UFC
Yeah, but
did.
they matched him up with Couture to take him down. They're not going to match him up with someone that's going to stand.
That's right. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Well, I ain't dogging on James Toney. He's a good boxer.
He didn't have a chance.
Yeah. No chance at all. Not with no wrestler. But standing up toe to toe with him, and they would have put him with some Shogun or something like that.
How'd you feel about Randy Couture getting his black belt after he submitted James Toney? Because that was silly to me.
It's part of it, I guess. Do a little of everything.
I felt like it was a bit silly to give. I mean, I'm just saying, I could probably submit James Toney if I got him to the ground.
Right, he's one of the. That was a classic example of a grappler versus striker.
But I feel like we had already done that in the '90s. We knew what was going to happen.
We did, but I think matching him up with someone like Couture made it totally different. Yeah. They match him up with a Rampage or someone like that.
That would have been interesting. I would have watched that.
Somebody that wants to prove that they can stand and bang with them. Yeah. I think you have a different outcome. I think if Toney clips you, I think you're going to be in some trouble.
And honestly, now that you've said that, I hope Bellator signs James Toney because I want to see Rampage fight James Toney now that you've mentioned that. I never thought of it. But
yeah, because I didn't really approve the whole Rampage and Ortiz going to fight. I mean, he was going to smash Ortiz to me. So,
I just don't
him and Toney, now that would be, that would have been.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I'd watch it. I'd definitely pay a couple bucks to see it, that's for sure.
Toney's definitely on the way out, but he could still punch.
Yeah.
He's not what he was 15 years ago,
20
years ago.
I'm certainly not going to take a punch from him. I would use the Randy Couture strategy if I'm going in there. I'm diving for ankles and just crawling around so he can't punch me.
That's why Randy's the man. He, made the biggest legend he can.
I'm not trying to disrespect Randy. I just don't think he should get a black belt for.
No, by far. Either do I. That's
he's
like
done
stealing candy from a baby.
Yeah.
Pretty much what that was.
He's done enough for the sport that I'm never gonna say he doesn't deserve this or that. But I'm just saying it's a little peculiar to get a black belt for that one.
I think Randy was just a master of strategy and being in the best possible condition he could be in.
Absolutely. He's a phenom. I mean, I know that's Vitor's name, but still, he's an anomaly. You're not going to see people that can do what he did maybe once a generation, and they would still have to decide to go into MMA as opposed to football. Right. He's like the Brett Favre of our sport.
He came back after the layoff and beat Tim Sylvia.
Yeah, he did. Well, his beatings of Tim Sylvia and Gonzaga were the two where I was like, this guy's... I mean, because it's hard for fighters to evolve, especially after a certain period of time. I think that's the knock people put against Roxanne and other people who've been around for a decade is they mistake not evolving for not being good.
Right.
You get into a pattern of what you train and what you do and how you get your wins, but the sport keeps evolving past what you can do after a while. And you have to learn to adapt to it, and I think it's hard for a lot of fighters. Randy was one of the people who really showed you can do it if you are smart enough, you can figure out a way. And I think we even saw that in Roxanne's fight. Her head movement was so much better than what I've seen in the past. Granted, I'm a nerd and I watch all these fights. Like, I've watched her fights many times. So maybe I'm just, being a nerd about it and having too much to say. But her head movement was better. She looks like she's improving, which is rare to see for people who have been fighting as long as she has. I mean, we saw that's why Florian left, is he just couldn't keep it going. He wasn't improving anymore. And he felt it was the right time to step out.
There's life after fighting.
There is, if you have a personality. Some people don't so much. I'm surprised Hughes has a job, but I guess he's just a good political guy there. He finds a way to get work, but he doesn't have much of a personality on him as far as I've seen. It's kind of mean sometimes. He's got that country boy mean streak, but that's about it.
Now, Steve, you're tougher than nails. Great shape. What are some things you really want to involve and really
incorporate into your game?
Be honest with you, wrestling.
Okay.
Big on the. I need to learn wrestling, and also, I like to get my hands way better. I realize, I'm competing with some of the top guys around, top amateurs around, and they're in gyms that are, top gyms. They're not like, in gyms like me, just some gym I'm training at my apartment, you know.
Right.
So definitely, but wrestling is a big thing because, you know, if you do get rocked or something like that, in the position where I got my ribs kicked, you know, if I could have been able to take him down and at least, you know, catch my breath a little bit more, you know, that would have been a big help to me. Instead, I was trying to, you know, move my way around that cage. And the little cage that it is, it looks big, but really when you get in there with a guy that big, you know, the cage kind of cuts off pretty fast.
Yeah, and you had the boxing gym last time, or the boxing ring last time, and that was a lot bigger.
It was a lot bigger. It was a lot bigger. But I definitely love the cage aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like that aspect. But yeah, definitely I need to get into wrestling, and that's why, you know, today I rode around today and you know, looked at gyms, and it's like I said, it's my time now. So we're gonna see my next fight. Hopefully it's gonna be in February, March. You know, whenever I can get in there. As far as my gym says I'm ready, whatever gym I decide to, or whenever Tuff-N-Uff, you know, asks me to call to step up, and I'll definitely be there. And this time, you know, this time around I showed them tough, so now I want to show the skill.
Right. And how long until we see you throw one of those Vinny Margulies go-go platas you saw earlier today? You think maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks you'll have it down?
Maybe I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks. No,
yeah.
No, I'm just.
How would you like watching a guy like Vinny rolling around, where he makes it look like it's...
He made it. He just was so smooth.
Yeah.
He's done it once or twice.
Yeah,
he's been around.
He was just smooth with it. So you know, definitely showed me, hey, you know what? If I put that hard work that he's put in over the years, you know,
right,
I can be smooth too. You know, anybody.
I don't know if you can be as smooth as him, but you can definitely become smoother.
Smoother,
sure.
yeah, that's for sure.
Because that guy, for how big he is, the flexibility that he has. My goodness. So I don't see many 220-pound guys throwing go-go platas.
He's amazing.
He actually kept nailing it too.
Yeah, he got it every time he wanted it, and that was one of the things for the wrestling side. Is one of the things you see. Are you more interested in learning how to get that takedown? Like, is that the important part to you, so you can use your hands more, or are you impressed by that, like, position control kind of stuff?
I'm impressed by position and control.
Yeah.
I know if I get on top of somebody, anybody can ground and pound. Yes, there's techniques to ground and pound, but I mean, it's pretty basic. You know, you get on top of somebody, you start dropping them bombs.
Right. You hit them in the face.
So I want to learn, you know, the control factor. Even if somebody's stronger than you, you can still control somebody that's stronger than you if you learn.
Matt, you might, I don't know how often you're around when Fredson's doing it, but Fredson, for how small he is, everybody that is under him says that's like a truck sitting on top of you.
You know, you can't put a price on some of these people that have done it thousands and thousands of times. And these are world champion jiu-jitsu and grappling. World champions, the best in the world. So, yeah, they all are amazing.
I always love watching. Honestly, it's the reason I love what I do, even though I'm running around like crazy, is because sometimes I get to sit down and watch Vinny throw a go-go plata. I'm like, there's my payment. That's worth it now. And when we see the striking, like, I love watching Master Nope when I'm in Syndicate. That's so much fun to watch. Or when I go to Cobra Kai and watch Sim go, he makes stuff look so easy out there, and he's rolling with his own brown belts and black belts, and it's just flow. Everything's perfect, nice and calm, no worries. And then, oh, you're submitted. Sorry, see you later.
You know, and Bootsy, you've been around the amateur ranks. Is it great to see these fighters develop, where you see them in one fight and you see them a few fights later?
Yeah, that's the nerd side of me loves that, especially because I have to be in charge of matching them up, and so I like to give them fights where they can show where they're improving, where it's not a fight where it's a can where they can just roll over someone and go back to their old ways and not have to try anything new, and also not put them in against a monster who's going to just impose on them, and they don't get to improve anything. It's not a perfect science. You know, sometimes a guy's going to come in unprepared or sick or isn't ready, or just unfortunately he gets caught early or something.
Very easy to get caught.
We saw that in the last Tuff-N-Uff fights where with Sebastian Buckley caught his guy early.
He capitalized on it.
Yeah, and Fabio, from all accounts, is a good fighter, and he's already, by the way, talked to me and said, I want to come back. So he's ready to prove it again. He's obviously a tough guy. But he got caught early, and when that happens to you, sometimes you don't get to show what you can do.
Right.
And especially when you capitalize on, you know, Sebastian jumped all over it.
Yeah.
He realized it, boom, was on him.
But I love, to your point, I love seeing the progression, because I feel like my job is to help these people mold into professional fighters from the amateur ranks. And so being around them and being able, because I'm lucky enough to be able to see them practicing every day and listen to what they're saying. You know, you can tell a lot by a person by how they talk about what they want to do with their careers, or just about how they're feeling training that day. You hear some people are just like frustrated and they can't figure out, and they're almost questioning whether or not they should be doing it. And there's other people that are pissed off or frustrated or love the fact that they just got beat up, and they're like, yeah, that was rough. I had a bad day. But you can tell that they still want to do it, and I love hearing people, because at first everyone's frustrated. I talked with Steve about that earlier, about how it's that getting comfortable with drowning. where you're going to be frustrated. People who you think can't control you just throw you around like a rag doll or tag you all day long. And if you can work through those early frustrations, which is what you see with all new amateurs,
right,
and you start to see them develop personally as a person who goes, yep, got beat up today, I got to work on that thing, as opposed to just being angry. That's one of my favorite things to see in people.
Building character.
Right. Absolutely. And it takes a certain type of person to do that. When you have a little kid tap you out,
right,
and you have to come back the next day,
right,
and really learn from it, it's easy, and it might even be justified to have a good reason why not to do something.
Right.
And that's why I have a lot of respect for anybody that makes a decision to step in that cage.
Yeah, Lord knows I respect the hell out of them. And I always feel maybe part of the reason I have such a hard time watching the fights that I set up is because I want them to succeed, and I know what they're putting on the line.
Right.
And I know almost every fighter that we talk to personally, to the point to where I know their hopes and dreams for what they want to do. And anytime they can't do it and they lose, I feel it too. I'm empathetic, and so sometimes I just have to not be in the room when the fights are happening, which is part of the reason I keep myself so busy. I'm always running around, because then I don't have to watch the fight, and I can watch it later on tape where I'm more removed from it.
Yeah, it's tough, and unfortunately, there does have to be one loser. Steve,
what
do you feel the biggest thing you've taken away from your losses?
You know what? The experience of, I guess, going all 3 rounds.
Which is very big.
Yeah, which is very big. To be able to go all 3 rounds, I think is a big advantage for me. And I felt the loss twice now. So I want to win more than anything my next fight.
Gives you a little extra fire.
It gives me a lot of extra fire, because now it's my turn to prove, not only to myself, but to everybody else watching me, and some people doubting me, and some people, on my side.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's it's my turn. It's my turn. It's definitely my turn. So.
All right. Well, we got to finish it up there. This hour went by fast.
Yes, it did.
This one went by too quick for me. I wasn't ready for it to be over so fast.
But real quick, before we go, if I could say a couple shout-outs. Hey, Jeff Myers, thank you so much for letting me come back and fighting Tuff-N-Uff for your brother. I appreciate that a lot. And Bootsy, thank you for all the hard work that you put in for us fighters, as always. And keep it up. And thank you for having me on the show again. And it was good talking to you.
All right. Well, that's it for today on Fight Grind Radio on Las Vegas Tribune radio station. And shout out to Dominate Your Game, who've been nice guys when helping me out and trying to help me find a couple sponsors out there. And a big thanks to Tuff-N-Uff, of course, who are my employees, or my employers, but also my friends. So, and a big thanks again to all the fighters out there and all the people that came out to support the Tuff-N-Uff show. And we will talk to you later on this week, as long as I don't pass out and sleep for a week. So it might happen, honestly. I might be asleep until next Saturday. But pending that doesn't occur, then we'll talk to you guys on Friday. Have a good one.